Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Putra Inzikri Ahmad Fairul and my metric number is 28412 and I will be presenting about the introduction of the effects of fuel subsidy to the fishery sectors in Ghana. So for the introduction part, profits are the major driving force behind commercial fishing, which means here is people do commercial fishing to gain profits. And in the fisheries sectors, it is apparent to wonder whether the recent increase in fuel prices will contribute to a decrease in overfishing. So, to avoid overfishing, the government had provided fuel subsidies into the fishing sector. Moving on to the next part, which is the research questions. The purpose of research question is to gather the information needed to achieve the objectives. So the first question is, how does the fuel subsidy programs in Ghana affect the variable costs? And for the next question is, what are the issues and challenges on premix fuel subsidy in Ghana? The third question is, what are the causes and the effects of the bad influence of the fuel subsidy? And last but not least is what are the solutions and strategies to avoid the bad influence of fuel subsidy? And if there is question, it is also we had also set up our objective on this research, which is the first one is to analyze the benefits of the fuel subsidies programs between the year 1990 till 1992 in Ghana. And the next one is we need to identify ways to overcome all the challenges and the issues of the premix fuel subsidy in Ghana, to analyze the impact of fuel subsidies in the artisanal fisheries sector, and the last one is to identify the solutions to avoid the bad influence of the fuel subsidy.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Humaira binti Harun, matrix number 289752. First, I would like to share our findings regarding issues and challenges on premix fuel subsidy in Ghana. There were, rather than being owned by fisher groups, premix fuel sale outlets were proliferating. By 2008, there were roughly 900 premix fuel sale points, up from 128 in 2001. Premix fuel administration was rife with uncontrolled corruption. Second, there was widespread product diversion away from the designed location. Third one, there was shortage that harmed the fishermen. Fourth, premix was used to tamper with ordinary petrol, harming motorists. And lastly, there was a general lack of contentment among fishermen, especially with the way catch was sold. Next is the causes of the bad influence of the fuel subsidy. There are three aspects of, namely negative social factors, insufficient governance, and negative environmental factors. As for the negative aspect of the social factors, there are three causes, namely inefficient management of subsidy fuel, lack of transparency in national premix, and negative political influence. As for insufficient governance, inadequate fisheries institutional capacity, existing legal regulation lacks adequate enforcement, unregulated access of artisanal sector, and no registration for artisanal canoes. And the last aspect of negative environmental were use of undersized mesh nets and explosive of fishing factors and overexploitation resulting from race for fish like fishing. And finally, I will explain about the effect of the bad influence of the fuel subsidy. Here, there are also three aspects, namely increased social deviance, unsustainable economic fuel, and unsustainable usage of the fisheries resources. As for the aspect of increased social deviance, there are several effects such as lack of political will, adulteration of premium fuel with normal petrol of motorists, corruption in sale for fuels, and smuggling of subsidized fuels. As for the aspect of unsustainable economic fuel, it will increase dead weight loss, which is high cost of government, increased wastage of fuel, which is increased fishing trips to catch a few of fish, and overcapacity to many vessels and too little income each vessel. Last but not least, the aspect of unsustainable usage of the fishery resources, its effect are overexploitation of fishery resources and decline in marine catches. Thank you, that's all from me.
Hello, I'm Adisa Anak Lelaki Bunling 28912. I would like to talk about the strategy and solution for the good influence of fuel subsidy in Ghana to the fishery sector. So the first thing for the solution for fuel subsidy good influence, there are 4 aspects. First is positive social factors. There are 3 of them. Efficient management of subsidized fuel, increased transparency in MPLB committees, and positive political influence. The second effect is positive economic factors, which is the only one for the solution. Efficient use of government funds. The next aspect is sufficient governance or management systems. There are 5 of them. Efficient fisheries institutional capacity, improve enforcement of existing legal regulation, liquidate access for artisanal sector, artisanal canoes should be registered and licensed artisanal sector. And last but not least, the 4th, positive environmental factors. There are 4 of them. Use of approved size mesh nets, enforcing ban of the use of explosives for fishing, introduction of quota system to avoid feed rates for fish, and prohibition on light fishing shall be enforced. Next is going to be effect to the improved fuel subsidy. There are 3 aspects. The first is decrease social divide. There are 4 of them. The first is political will be improved. Corruption in sale for fuel reduced, adulteration of premise fuel with normal petrol of motorists reduced, and non-smuggling for subsidized fuel. The second aspect is improved economic costs. There are 5 of them for the effects. Reduce costs for government, reduce wastage of fuel, moderate fishing trips to catch adequate fish, increase IPUE and income to many vessels, and increase minimum number of vessels. And last but not least, the third, sustainable usage of the fishery resources. Only just 2 of them, over-exploitation of fishery resources reduced, and improvement in marine catches. So I conclude for the strategy and solution with the strategy to avoid the bad influence of the fuel subsidy. There are 7 of them. Expected contribution to key policy objectives such as poverty reduction, benefits to target groups including women and men, young and old, disabled and able, etc. Complementarity with other ongoing or planned programs and projects. Financial and economic cost benefit, contribution to institutional capacity building, technical feasibility, and environmental impact. So that's all for me. I would like to give to the conclusion. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Asdaq bin Khairuddin, by number matric 288364, and I'm going to talk about conclusion and recommendation for this assignment. So first, conclusion for this assignment. There are so many bad impact of fuel subsidy from many aspects such as negative social factor and economic factors. From social factor, the bad influence of fuel subsidy will cause inefficient management of subsidy fuels. Besides, they also can cause a lack of transparency in in the national premix and landing beach community. Therefore, in terms of economic factors, can cause inefficient use of government funds. So beside that, from another perspective, fuel subsidy has many benefits and give many positive effects in fuel subsidy improves. And it can also advance in terms of many aspects, which are decreased social costs and unsustainable usage of the fishery resources, and it also can improve economic costs. And for the recommendation, for this assignment, I recommend that the government should examine the impact of the fuel subsidy on the profits of artisanal fisheries. Second, investigate the impact of subsidy of livelihood in artisanal fisheries and food sufficiency. Third, reduce fuel waste and moderate fishing trips to catch enough fish. And last, premix fuel adulteration with regular gasoline has been reduced for motorists. So that's all from me. Thank you.